Let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets sent into us by Colton M. And Colton M writes, "Hey, John, over the weekend, I watched the trial of the Chicago 7. And I have to say, that was the best movie so far this year. What are your thoughts and thanks?" All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, I did, even though I admittedly was a little bit behind. I did finally have a chance this weekend to sit down and watch the trial of the Chicago 7. Now, look, there's a few things some of you guys who watch me regularly know. I don't have a lot of faith in quote-unquote Netflix original movies. And by Netflix original, that can mean anything from films they produce themselves to films that they just acquire from other production companies that have made them. There have been the odd really good one, Da 5 Bloods, The Irishman, The Old Guard, for example. But, for me, for the most part, for every one The Old Guard, there's about literally 40 or 50 other pieces of absolute forgettable trash. So I don't have a lot of faith right now in Netflix original films. And so the Chicago 7 comes along. And look, I'm instantly interested in Trial of Chicago 7 because of a couple things. Number one, Aaron Sorkin, who is just simply one of the best screenwriters in the world. On top of that, he's directing it. His first directorial effort was Molly's Game, a film I felt should have been nominated for Best Picture of the Year. I thought he did a phenomenal job on that.
Yep.
Beyond that, look at the cast, right? Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Eddie Redmayne, on and on. This is a stellar cast. And I'm a sucker for things based on true stories. So, okay, despite the fact that it's got shuffled off to Netflix, I sat down and watched it. And Rob, I'm going to tell you right now that Trial of the Chicago 7 is now my favorite movie of the year.
Wow.
I think it's the best movie of the year. And I say that, The Gentleman was my number one favorite. I absolutely loved another Netflix one they did, Da 5 Bloods. Delroy Lindo probably would still get my Best Actor of the Year Academy Award right now. But I'm telling you, this movie fulfilled every possible expectation I had and then added elements to it that I didn't even think they would. First of all, let's talk about Aaron Sorkin for a second. The creative decisions in the way he tells stories was such a perfect fit for this historical event of what happened. I was kind of taken aback, Rob, when the movie began with the trial starting. I expected them to do the traditional thing, the traditional thing that you do with a movie like this. You start with the events that led us there. I figured it was going to start with the protest at the Democratic National Convention. I thought it was going to start with all that. And then maybe about 20 minutes into the movie, we'd get to the trial. But Aaron Sorkin does this really neat job of hopscotching back and forth between starting with the beginning of the trial, then as the movie progresses, going back a little bit and showing us what relates to that now new moment that's happening as the trial's unfolding. And it's something that can become very convoluted and very confusing very quickly, but Aaron Sorkin tells it in such a way that it flows so naturally and so beautifully that it's just incredible. And by the way, I continue to be shocked and surprised by the incredible talent level of Sasha Baron Cohen. This dude ain't just Ali G. Sasha Baron Cohen is not just Borat. This dude legitimately is a wonderful actor. And I don't know that he's ever been better than he was in Trial of the Chicago 7. The exchanges between Sasha Baron Cohen and Eddie Redmayne's character, for example, are riveting. Absolutely riveting. And yes, a lot of that has to do with the dialogue and the script done by Sorkin, but it's also the performances of both these guys elevates it. And again, I mentioned a little bit earlier, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, whose career is just taking off like nuts. Most people had never even heard of him by the time Aquaman came around, and now it's like he appears in every other project that's getting announced. And that's great for us because this dude's crazy good, and he's crazy good in this movie. When Michael Keaton pops up in the movie, he owns the screen. Every second that Michael Keaton's on the screen, it's a small role, but every moment and every scene that he's in, he just owns the screen. And an ending that I'm going to do a separate editorial for a little bit later today, actually. There's most people, I think it's got a 93% right now. I think Trial of the Chicago 7 has a 93%. One of the down things that a lot of critics are talking about, saying, they didn't really love the absolute, like the end of the movie, the last scene of the movie. But I actually contend it is an absolutely brilliant scene, and I'll do an editorial on that a little bit later today about why the ending of the Trial of Chicago 7 was fantastic. But I'll get to that a little bit later. Overall, Rob, this movie was brilliantly written, directed with a seasoned director's touch, with brilliant performances that already took excellent material and elevated it even more. It brought and shone a spotlight on an event that has happened in American history that is shockingly and frighteningly applicable to a lot of the things that we are facing today. It is a brilliant film. And so on two levels, number one, it is the best movie of the year so far for me personally. It is the best movie of the year so far. And easily for me, the best original movie that Netflix has ever done. And that is saying that they put out some other excellent ones, The Irishman, The Five Bloods, what have you. But I was so surprised, Rob, with this movie. I was so pleasantly shocked by it. It went into places I wasn't expecting. I absolutely love this movie. Rob, I don't even know, you and I have not talked about this. I don't even know if you had a chance to watch this movie yet or not, but what are your thoughts going into this film?
Well, first of all, I'm a huge Aaron Sorkin fan. You know, I've loved A Few Good Men, The American President. I love The West Wing. The Social Network, I think, is one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. And he wrote that script. And I loved Molly's Game. Really liked Molly's Game a lot. I thought he did it. It's one of my favorite debuts from a director. But, you know, he'd been around for almost 30 years making TV and movies. So it's not surprising how good. I mean, Sports Night was great. So I have not seen this yet. It was something I was going to watch this weekend. I was just busy working. I can't wait to watch this movie. I'm probably going to watch it tonight. I'm excited about the whole case. All of this is such an interesting period of time, and all of these historical figures really interesting. I can't wait to see this. I love that he made this movie. So I'm really excited. I didn't realize that it had dropped. You sent me a text yesterday, and all it said was, watch the Trial of the Chicago 7. Like, you don't normally send me, and I'm like, at first I'm like, should I do that for the show? And then I realized, no, you were blown away by it, and that's why you sent me the text.
Yeah. And listen, by the way, you can't talk about Aaron Sorkin, obviously, if you don't also mention The West Wing. I gotta say, this past weekend was marvelous for me, because I don't know if you saw, but HBO Max.
Oh, yes.
Did you watch it? Okay,
yes,
for those of you who don't know, HBO Max did, speaking of Aaron Sorkin, who of course did West Wing, one of the greatest television shows of all time. And they got the cast back together again to not just, it's big on YouTube during the pandemic has been getting some cast together shows to do script read-throughs.
Yeah.
Well, they went one step further. They got the original cast together, got them in costume, and did a stage performance of a key episode they did that encourages voting. So they picked one of the episodes that was really about voting, encouraging people to get out and vote. And that was what this whole thing was to encourage people to get out and vote. And they did this episode. God, Rob, it was so good. It was so good. This little HBO Max 1 hour and 15 minute thing. All I wanted to do was go back and start binge watching The West Wing again.
I know.
Like, dude. What stood out to you? But by the way, and obviously the guy who played
John Spencer, Leo McGarry,
who played the chief of staff, he passed away during the final season of the show. And who did they go out and get to play Sterling Brown? They went out to go get the Emmy-winning actor. They brought him in to play the role of Leo.
Yeah,
he didn't miss a beat.
He crushed it.
He was so good. So good. If you have, guys, first of all, I don't know if you've never seen The West Wing, if you'll be able to appreciate as much as people who have watched The West Wing. But I'll tell you this, if you watch this HBO Max special, you'll probably want to go and binge watch The West Wing. It's just so good. I loved it. Anyway, guys, Trial of the Chicago 7. We're talking about Aaron Sorkin here. Trial of the Chicago 7. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I don't know if it'll end up being my favorite film of the year by the time the year ends, but as of right now, for me personally, it's the best film of the year. Question is, guys, for those of you who have seen it on Netflix already, what did you think about it? Jump down into the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys.